It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. Just acknowledging knowledge with no scholarships. It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. Breaking everything down, tech to politics. It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. We don't tell you what you want, we just give you what you need. It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. News, brews, and views from these Chi-Town streets. Topic Thunder.
And we welcome you, ladies and gentlemen, and she, them, his, her, they, everybody, to Topic Thunder, where everybody knows your name, and we're always glad you came. If you heard that one before, we call ourselves the Internet Saloon from now and then, and we mean it because we are officially here, the topic tenders, the talk tenders. I don't know what we call ourselves, but we call ourselves Topic Thunder, and you're tuning in on Twitch, on Facebook, on YouTube. We're also on Instagram at the Topic Thunder Podcast. Check us out. We know you. We love you. The world's most dangerous chat room. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, feel free. It's usually on the right of your screen. Or if you're watching us, you have the ability to reach out and touch us. Not literally that.
You can tell us we suck if you want to. We're into that. You know,
hey,
both sides of the coin.
Always open for discussion. That was the point of the show. That was the point of the platform. Ben and or I would introduce topics to the discussion, thus Topic Thunder. And you guys would bring the thunder, or Ben and or I would also have the ability to bring the thunder. And there we go, the marriage of things. Now, yes.
Well, before we move any further, we had some technical difficulties last week. I've made some changes. I've got a new soundboard. So what I'm asking the Topic Thunderdome is to tell me if there is any audio issues. If my mic is too high, if Brooks's mic is too low, if it's got an echo, please give me any feedback if there is. Otherwise, I'm thinking, I don't know if you guys noticed, but there's been a hum that has been in the background. If you've listened to any of it back, there's just this background hum because I had a soundboard that was from about 8 years ago. And I have now since upgraded and have the latest and greatest of equipment, and it sounds crisp and clean. I love it. All right, sound beautiful. All right, great. So I'm not gonna say anything more. Let's get.
Hey, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, and unbeknownst to my co-host here and the Topic Thunder world, but I had a haircut today.
Ooh, look at you!
I tell you that because I'm no longer I'm a Taurus, and maybe that's maybe this is a big for later, but I'm a Taurus, and like full-blooded Taurus. Like one of the traits of a Taurus is that we enjoy the finer things, right? We like the luxury things in life, and we're willing to pay a little bit extra. So if that hits a note, and you know me, guilty, stubborn. Who's stubborn?
Man, one
Not
of the
me.
downfalls. One of the. I guess it's a blessing. I choose to look at it as a blessing of going bald is that I haven't paid for a haircut in 20 years at least. I don't know what that's like. I don't know the inconveniences that go along with that. I don't know the prices. I'm sure the prices would shock me what it costs to get your haircut.
Okay. All right. Well, let's play that game, Ben. What do you think? Okay. So, okay. Let me hold on. Let me tell you the experience.
Okay. Yeah, please.
Let me tell you the experience first because it wasn't super cuts. Thank you, Mr. Ryan Hansen. Thank you. It is full shampoo, conditioner, stylist that has been in the business for more than 5 years. They kind of own this like loft thing, and it's the Salon Loft is the name of it. So it's like a WeWork for beauticians and hairstylists and stuff like that, right? Cool. Okay. So I'm getting a really, really nice top end haircut, shampoo, and they offer libations there if you want to Sprite.
Okay, I was gonna ask you. Okay,
or you want to, there's a couple of Paps in there. There's some 312s, and there's also a bourbon there. So when you walk into the loft, they ask you if you'd like a drink.
And of course.
Well, I said yes right off the bat without even asking a question. Well, what do you want? Because it could have been boric acid for all I know. And well, what would you like? We have beer and fridge, or I could pour you whiskey. And I said, a whiskey sounds wonderful.
Mhm.
So I'm already one whiskey in as we open up.
Let me ask you. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Also,
yeah.
did you? Ryan Hansen brings up. Did you get a beard trim and shave as well? Did they do anything beard wise, or was it just the haircut?
So good question, Mr. Hansen. Let me open up this two-hearted ale by
Ooh,
the made from the good people at Bell's
fish.
Brewery.
It's
It's
a fishy flavor because that would be that would be unsettling.
absolutely not, but I believe it's a salmon or a trout, and I think a trout has two hearts.
Oh,
So that's why it's too hard. I believe that's the fish, and that's the reason why they call it too hard. This is
clever.
legitimately one of the very, very ever first like independent brewery beers I've ever had in my life.
Okay.
It was a favorite of somebody very dear to me at one point, and it's a solid beer, but like you could tell it was like created at the very beginning of like the craft beer like mass kind of experiment, right? So anyway, two-hearted beer, two-hearted ale. If you like your IPAs, this is more on the crisp, almost like fruity side of things. Not very hoppy, but almost has a very fruit. A trout is a Time Lord. Oh, the Time Lords do have two hearts. I guess fit that into your Doctor Who canon. Why don't you go ahead?
I've never watched that show, but I've wanted to get into it. I'm assuming because there's like 8 billion seasons that it's pretty good. If you don't last that long, if you're not a well written show on some level.
Yeah, we go, and it goes way back too. Like I believe the first Doctor Who was in like 1967 or something
Yes,
like that.
it's something crazy. It's like The Simpsons, but in British.
I'm sure my aunt will tell us the date, but like yeah, like it goes
The
all the way
date.
back to like black
Okay.
and white TV. In like then it dies out, then it gets brought back in the 80s, and like it starts to die out as it's not cool anymore. And then here comes like the resurgence, what we're kind of experiencing right now. But you didn't come here to talk about Doctor Who. Well, I don't know, maybe you
Maybe
did.
I mean, if you did,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm letting you down because I don't know much about it. But yeah,
We 1963. Thank you,
oh,
Aunt Chris.
that's amazing.
Yeah. And we could bring Lockport Joe on because
We're in
he
Star Trek, right? Kind of in a way.
yeah, like oh yeah, lots of acid. Lots of acid being taken in the writer's room there. Good stuff. But yeah, so my haircut, right? Yeah, no beard trim.
No
No
beard.
beard trim.
We have to
Because
guess.
I
Move forward, I have to guess this price.
yeah, so okay, so a nice place, downtown Chicago,
Get the drink. Yeah. Okay.
independent.
I think I've got the picture painted. Without the beard trim,
Hmm,
I'm saying, and this is before tip.
correct.
I'm saying you paid $65.
I guess let's put actually I
Well,
was
look,
about to
that's
say
the-
something, but let's put it out.
I'm
Let's
gonna
put it
guess
out.
$75. Gigi guessed $75.
Okay.
And Ryan Hansen said 50 with a beard trim. Now, I would bet he would go less considering there was no beard trim, or maybe not. But I'm going with 65. There's a 75. There's a 50.
Okay. No, because we're not letting you reverse engineer the goddamn
Okay.
answer. Although kudos to you,
So
Courtney.
Adrian would know pretty well, right? She's the resident hair expert around here. So $60 is what she's saying. So,
Oh, so okay, so I think all right, okay, and Biz coming in at 100.
he
All right,
would know
so
that he's a male who gets his hair cut in that area.
oh,
So I bet he would know probably better than any of us.
and Biz has always got it tight. You know what I'm saying? Like Biz,
course.
it always looks good.
This is not the type to fuck around.
No, Biz does not fuck around. So I'm gonna completely rip off another podcast that I listen to, and it's the I can't think of it now. Dumb People Town with the
Yeah.
Sklar brothers. I'm gonna rip them off. Somebody in the chat room is 100% correct and has guessed the absolute right number. Now let's double down and play an additional game.
All right.
And everybody who wants to guess who got it right.
I love it. Okay. All right. So we've had guesses of what was it? 75 by Gigi, 100 by Biz, 60 by Adrian, 65 by me, which we know is incorrect because I'm not in the chat. and $50 from Ryan Hansen. Okay. I have to go with my wife. I gotta think that she's spot on, or else it shatters everything I thought about what she knows about hair.
Okay, so we got to vote for. I don't know if you can. Yeah, sure, vote for yourself. I guess you can, right?
Right, I guess if you're feeling really confident.
Uh-oh, I may have lost the internet signal here. Oh,
No, you're good. I can hear you.
All right, cool. We got a
Yours right.
Adrian. So everybody's kind of it's a weird question and try to like wait. So what if I'm not right? Like I gotta say somebody else is right. So we'll just say the price. I'm gonna try to drag it out just like Dan Van Kirk does on the show. The price that I paid for my haircut with bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
And a lengthy discussion about rescued pit bulls was $75.
Okay. I feel like Gigi had inside info on that.
She actually didn't. She didn't. And honest to God, I would have called her out on it and said no. I didn't tell her, and we don't share a bank account for that spending, so she couldn't have checked anything. So she had no idea. Just for the record, I tipped 25 because I thought the service was good, the bourbon was tasty, and again, cheers. The show's already off to a fun start. I think everybody's having a good time. So let's get to talking about stuff that's going on. Even though I'm going to take this time to kind of maybe shift away from current events and then wrap up because I have a big that I want to talk about. But this first story is insanely cool, especially if you're into that whole the future in medicine is technology and possibly DNA based. Here is a DNA spike gel that heals the wounds of butterfly children.
Wait. So wait, are those actual butterflies, or is there some sort of new species of human called
That's
butterfly?
what I was like, this is one of those opportunities where you go highlight, click, right click, search Google, but the story tells you. I didn't know what butterfly children were. So here's a story from science.org. They're known as butterfly children, people born with skin so fragile that a simple touch can create wounds that may never fully heal. Now, in a small study of patients with the rare inherited disease, researchers have used a DNA carrying gel to help mend their skin. The approach is just one of several new experimental gene therapies for the condition, but it is by far the simplest. A gel loaded with viruses carrying a therapeutic gene is spread on the skin like an ointment. Its developers say it is the first topical gene therapy to clear clinical testing, and it is, quote, arguably the greatest, most successful therapy to date, end quote. That was from David Schaefer of the University of California, Berkeley, who is actually not involved with the study. People with EB, which is the name of the disease, have mutations that disable genes for proteins that anchor together the layers of skin and the linings of some internal organs. Their skin tears easily, and blisters form in friction-prone areas such as elbows, knees, and esophagus. Such tearing can result in painful open wounds, persistent infections, scars, skin cancer, and death by early adulthood. So what?
That's the type of shit that we need to be finding fucking cures.
And this is super cool. This is so super cool. And it takes an old friend. In a new study, patients with the recessive gene and that lack the skin protein, to treat their wounds, a team led by Stanford University School of Medicine developed a gel containing herpes simplex virus 1, best known for causing cold sores, modified to carry the gene for collagen 7, which it helps bind those layers of skin together, and then engineered that specific virus so it could not replicate. So what they basically did is told the herpes virus, hey, and the story goes on to basically confirm this. Hey, we know the herpes virus has basically evaded the immune system. That's why you can't get rid of it. The basically the immune system was like, it's just a normal. It's
Not worth it.
That guy, we know that guy. He's all right.
Right? You can imagine it. It's like they're like police officers, right? And they're just like, oh, that guy again. We don't have time.
Oh, that's just Frankie Two Fingers. We just let him go. He's harmless. Right. What they've done is taken that herpes virus, because it can evade the human immune system. They've put this collagen inside of it and then delivered it in the topical ointment. So the collagen just it gets delivered right to the cells. It's amazing technology to talk about. And for such, they go on to talk about like a 5-year-old that had the results for these are ridiculously cool. Here it is. One patient's 5-year-old foot wound needed 2 cycles of the treatment, but ultimately healed for 8 months. Now you might say, like, healed for 8 months. What are you talking about, Brooks? That's 8 months of not having the skin on your feet blister, tear, and never heal just by stepping a foot on it, just by putting pressure down.
How nice that must be to have, even for a small amount of time, have them.
In the story, which was the study was published in the journal Nature Medicine. In all but one case, wounds healed within 3 months. All but one case, wounds healed in 3 months after the treatment ended, researchers reported. And then one of the 5-year-old who needed 2 cycles of the treatment healed for 8 months. So this is insanely cool technology, and why we need to be putting more and more money into this stuff, and not be afraid. Have oversight and the right people looking at it, making sure there's ethics involved in this, right? Mm-hmm. Another overlooked part of not only science, but politics and society and journal ethics. But there are reasons to pump money into things like this and not be afraid to find out what we can do and how we can help 5-year-olds whose skin tear at the slightest touch.
Yeah, definitely something worth, like I said at the beginning, definitely something worth looking into, try to help people out, for sure.
Not to toot my own particular horn, but in my neck of the nape over here, speaking of technology, the good people at the Northwestern Medicine Feinberg School of Medicine have developed a nanoparticle-based COVID-19 vaccine. And you're like, wait, nanoparticle-based? What does that mean? It's a really good question, right? This is just an interesting study in and of itself, but what they're finding out is that it's not so much what they put inside the vaccine, but the structure of the things that they put inside the vaccine. And these nanoparticles have shown an amazing amount of these studies are all in mice so far. It hasn't even advanced to human trials. But the particles themselves, how they attach to the virus and how they activate the immune system on a nano level, is offering a lot of promise. And it's not just for COVID-19. It'd be a whole new. Sure. You think the hubbub about mRNA vaccines was loud and kind of undereducated at some point. But here's this now nanoparticle. Just because it is cutting edge and again, just being used in mice, we probably wouldn't see human trials for another 3 to 5 years if this thing kind of progresses like they usually do. But something to keep our eye on. I will be, just because it's crazy, the possibilities.
Absolutely, that would be another game changer.
Talk about game changers, right? Let's talk about we'd like to talk about space, and we like to talk about the things that come from space. Incidentally, this was an incidental incident that happened at the end of March, on the 31st of March, over Edinburgh, Indiana. Hello. There's a loud boom in the sky. South central Indiana, probably a rough neighborhood. It was recently caused by a meteor explosion. Whoa. Something, and it caused an airburst. I know we've talked about an airburst.
Fox News clip of this if we want to watch it.
Let's do it.
No official. Today we're learning more about a big boom that was heard over a large portion of census.
Is there a huge echo there?
Yeah, weird big echo.
So I think we discovered something.
We've just
I thought it was. But you know what? Hold on a second. I think I can fix this. Bear with me. See, we're going to learn something new here. Sharing. Again, let's do this. And I bet.
Southern Indiana yesterday afternoon. No official source for the noise, but I did speak with some experts today to see what they think could have caused it.
People from half a dozen counties in south central Indiana heard the boom. It was captured around 12:45 on a camera at a fire department in Nineveh. An auto body shop in Bloomington caught it on its cameras as well.
Normally, with Atterbury, we hear a lot of noise.
Yeah.
But we don't necessarily hear anything that loud.
Initially, many chalked it up to some activity at nearby Camp Atterbury.
Oh, it just sounded like a cannon.
But the Indiana National Guard said it wasn't them.
It kind of sounded like a gunshot.
Heard the boom.
All of the noise
was our
remains a
tag.
mystery. But Brandon Johnson, a planetary scientist at Purdue University, says he thinks it could be what's called
I don't
an
hear the echo.
airburst.
Which is essentially
It's still echoing back. So if
I didn't hear the echo. I was enjoying that.
when a meteor is entering.
All right, well, there you go. Sorry.
Well, what these nerds will go on to explain is that the nerds is that it was an airburst.
Not echoing on her end. So maybe he's talking about back before. We've already moved on. But now we know we can still play.
Yes, it's good to know. It was an airburst. So the meteor, something entered the atmosphere and basically got so hot that it detonated in the atmosphere.
No shit.
Yeah. So this is the same thing that I think happened at what's that way Siberian town? I can't think of the name right now. COVID has affected me in the long term. Can't think of that one now, but there was we actually talked about this way back in another podcast and another lifetime, Ben, when something very similar happened over the skies of a Russian town called Chelyabinska. Same thing happened. But it landed. It blew up over the town. Tunguska is the name of the big Russian. What you'll find are pictures of like a flattened forest, but the trees are still preserved. Just some force just pushed down on them that flattened them, almost like a crop circle on a big circular pattern.
Yeah,
and that would be evidence of like an airburst. Something detonated and the force came down. It wasn't necessarily like singeing, burning everything. There certainly wasn't an impact, but it was, devastating nonetheless. It actually registered on their seismographs for the University of Indiana. So something struck the ground so hard, energy-wise, that it picked up almost like a little tremor.
Wow. And I've said it before. I'll say it again. Like, one of these times we're not going to get so lucky. Something's going to fucking we are overdue. Something is going to fucking hit this planet that's not supposed to sooner than later.
We're overdue. It's talk to anybody that really has studied the ice samples and ice core samples. We are like almost in an unprecedented time of a calm, or at least we were.
Right.
A long time, and we got the show for it.
Now we've got meteors detonating in the atmosphere and volcanoes erupting under the ocean. I mean, we're inching closer and closer to catastrophe.
It was. It wasn't like a nuke. That they estimate that to have been like several kilotons of like TNT, like the equivalent of a nuclear bomb exploding in the air. That's what happened in Tunguska. That was the level of devastation. It wasn't just just a little circle of trees. We're talking like a forest got obliterated, and just in a circular pattern too. So it baffled everybody until they witnessed something similar, or like finally saw like meteors or something entering the atmosphere, and like figured out like the cataclysmic end of these things because of the temperature and the friction. But yeah, hey,
Interesting and terrifying as always.
always. And I'm not gonna lie, folks. Today's show is a little spitter spatter, kind of all over the place, maybe a little bit. Like I said, we do have a big to talk about that I've kind of focused a little bit of more of my attention on. But I wanted to bring this up because it kind of ties into the big a little bit. But we got some other things to talk about first. This is from Reuters, and we've kind of talked about the absence of Germany. In the whole Ukraine-Russia situation. And it's not just from people who are just on this side of the pond. In fact, the Polish prime minister has actually said Germany now is the main roadblock for tougher Russia sanctions. It's not just sanctions. Germany hasn't provided the military support, hasn't provided the monetary support, and Germany is very, 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 very concerned about their energy supplies. In fact, almost to the point, I think they're going to nationalize parts of Gazprom, which is the Russian national energy and gas company, just to ensure their energy futures. So this is again a long settling thing, because a lot of people complain about Angela Merkel and Sarkozy. In fact, Zelensky today called both of them out for their passiveness and not letting like Ukraine and Georgia into NATO, and a kind of appeasing Vladimir Putin. And here's Poland on the biggest stage of them all right now, basically calling Germany out, saying you're not doing enough. And it's a little creepy. The last time, we talked, Germany and Russia were even remotely on the same page, it didn't go well for basically the world.
Yeah, bad news for everyone.
Very bad news. And it was the Molotov. Yeah, what's that?
Is that particularly Jewish?
Yeah, well, so there's the thing about that too, because like it's absolutely 7 to 10 million Jews died, but the Jewish that's being a religion, right? There were Polish Jews, Ukrainian Jews, Hungarian Jews, Czech Jews. So all of these people have this very vivid memory of there could have been probably 20 million people dead because of both German and Russian activity over just where your ethnic origins were, basically, right? It also ties right back into what we're going to talk about in the big. But let's just kind of ungraciously. I guess I don't have a flair for the segues today. It may have something to do with the bourbon.
We don't have we have this Elon Musk story is interesting.
The Musk thing is insane, because if you want to call that up, absolutely, because this dude has spent like the last 2 weeks trashing Twitter.
Yep, he's up to something, and I want to get this story, and I want to.
Oh, that's right. It's Financial Times. We have to like register.
We can just use the headline.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you haven't been paying attention, Elon Musk has legitimately been attacking Twitter on his Twitter account, so much as they're like putting up polls like, should he start his own social media? Is Twitter fair? Should Twitter be more like freedom of speechy kind of thing? Spent weeks basically moving the market against the value of Twitter stock.
Mm-hmm.
And then I believe today it was found out that he bought, I believe he bought $3 billion.
10%. 10% of the entire stock of Twitter he purchased. That is a power move. That is a big time power move. And what I only knew about this because a buddy of mine that invests in stocks at work was like, "Hey, did you hear about Elon Musk and Twitter?" And I was like, "No, I didn't hear anything about it." He's like, "Dude, he happened to have some Twitter options for the future for July that he ended up making a few $1,000s today."
Wow.
because the price of the options jumped so significantly. Like, it's not only is it a money making play for him because he drove the price down and then bought them cheap, and then the price immediately went up
30%. AP reports that the Twitter stock surged 30% today after news that he bought that much, and it was confirmed $3 billion with a B dollars worth of stock.
Yep. And what it really gives him more than the money is that he is buying up the stock to become the de facto owner of Twitter. He wants to own Twitter. He's going for it. He's saying, you know what, Jack Dorsey and all you fuckers over there at Twitter, I'll just buy you. And that's something that he's doing something very publicly that happens quite often with these billionaire types. They are able to find these companies where they can purchase enough stock where they are basically the controlling owner, and they can put themselves on the board of directors. They can be the head of the board of directors because they have the most shares, which gives them the most votes. That's the thing. Shares give you votes in decisions. And when you have the most, and each share gives you one vote. So if you own 10% of all of them, you have the biggest say in the whole group.
And it's something that definitely needs to be investigated by the SEC because he's clearly manipulating the market to depress the value openly. And this is I have the AP story open right now, but here's the quote. Musk is in a bitter war with the SEC, bitter dispute over his ability to post on Twitter. His lawyers contended in court motions that SEC is infringing on Tesla's first right amendments. In 2018, Musk and Tesla agreed to pay $40 million in civil fines and for Musk to have his tweets approved by a corporate lawyer after he had been tweeting about having the money to take Tesla private at $4.20 per share. See, there's a thing between free speech and then being what you say as an owner of a heavily traded and very valuable, lucrative stock to affect the value of that stock, and saying that we could buy back all of our stock at this price jacks the price up. Guess who's probably got the most stock in Tesla? Yeah. I think you're muted, sir. Just while you're, I think you're muted. There you go.
I'm going to turn it back on. He did the same thing with Dogecoin, right? I post about this every so often on my social media, just to remind people that you can track it. If you go whatever app you have, go to Dogecoin and zoom out as far as you can. You can see the actual moment that motherfucker called it a scam on Saturday Night Live, and that the price of it dipped significantly right at that very moment and has never recovered. He got out probably the day before or earlier that day, before he even went on. He probably got most of his money out of Dogecoin, knowing that he knew he was going to call it a scam. It was part of the skit, right? And he's not dumb enough. He's not that dumb to not know that him saying that was going to certainly make the price drop significantly quickly. He had an out strategy. He trusts that Elon Musk did not lose a dime on Dogecoin. Didn't lose a dime. He made millions, billions on it.
It makes what he did look like a practice run for Twitter.
Right? Doesn't it?
Can I get away with it? Will it work? First of all, right? If I publicly trash something,
crypto where it's unregulated, so there was SEC couldn't do shit about it. So he was You're right. That's a great point. He was test running it to see if he could really be that powerful, and he found out he could be, and he decided, well, let's go for a bigger fish. And if you can't, and the conservative and right wing love Elon Musk, right? And so if you want to go after the biggest fish to go after for those people, Twitter's the one.
well, of course they love him because he's everything they stand for. Yeah, it portrays this like I made it on my own kind of thing, but ignores the absolute fortune his family had in blood emeralds. And the same thing with Bezos, another guy that can move markets or buy media, that he just wants to get his message. Like he bought the Washington Post. One dude just like, I'm gonna buy the Washington fucking Post.
The whole newspaper.
The one time, one of the pillars of journalism,
Mhm.
and just so he could, fire off on Trump, basically, kind of, in my opinion of it, humble as it may not be. But yeah, like definitely a test, right?
And you're right. I didn't think of that, but I think you're absolutely 100% spot on. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much more he goes, because he has the money to buy as much Twitter stock as he fucking wants. Right? He can take this as far as he wants. He has that kind of money.
Absolutely. It's just now at some point somebody's got to file a lawsuit.
See, this Wall Street thing has gotten so out of hand that it's created a level of wealth in individuals that make them almost bigger than the system. That they can manipulate. You know what I mean? Before it was hedge fund guys would go on CNBC or MSNBC or Fox Business, and they would do an interview where they would talk about a stock or something. And that was all. If you've ever watched the TV show Billions on HBO, great look at like the inside trading kind of shit that goes on, where they know some shit and then they go on TV and either say something bad on purpose or something good on purpose. And because of who they are saying this thing, it manipulates it. And so people find out about it ahead of time and they get in. So it's insider trading for all intents and purposes. But this is when you combine social media with the level of wealth that Elon Musk has, Wall Street never saw something like this coming, right? There was no rule set in place for any of this, because you couldn't imagine that someone would be so wealthy, but also have such a huge platform to get his message out so quickly and easily. Those two things you could never have imagined. You could see a really rich person having a lot of say, but to have the platform come together at the same time, it's a perfect storm for Elon Musk, and he can do whatever the fuck he wants with stocks and manipulating them. And I don't know that there's anything. What do you do? Because isn't it a First Amendment thing, right? He has the right to use Twitter and make comments about stocks and stuff that he's interested in, right? He's just he's a human being that has that right?
It'd be I guess some sort of lawyer's dream because of the gray area, I'm sure. And like you were saying, that the system isn't necessarily prepared for something like this, but there's clearly something up, or at least at the very, not maybe it's something clearly wrong, but something very suspicious that can be tracked. So there is some empirical evidence to say like, hey, this started then, and where did money come from? Where did it go? I think that somebody out there with should be interested in looking further into this. I would think, even if you're like on the board of Twitter and being like, wait, we can't be involved in something like this. Like this could like fuck us royally. If he gets caught with something or doing something wrong and he owns that much of us, we're going to lose everything. Like think about what the stock. Yeah, think about that. It just interest of the stock alone. That's as shareholders and as like the board, that's their main job, right? Maintain value.
Right. Absolutely. Look out for those stockholders. They're the number one important person. Yep.
That's a very interesting fight that might be shaping up, to be honest with you. That's
definitely something on the Topic Thunder radar that we'll have to keep following, because this is something that's definitely going to lead us down a rabbit hole.
Absolutely. And you said some of our favorite words here on the show, rabbit and hole, and not necessarily like in that order or separate like that, but they're meant in rabbit hole. And I over the weekend, some really I guess this is the big, I guess if we had to make like a big announcement of it, but it's more of a solemn situation, because if you're paying attention to the whole Ukraine situation, some absolutely horrific information is starting to come out from some of the suburbs of Kyiv, specifically Bucha and I'm not going to say this right, Brodianka, where basically civilians are being massacred, literally hogtied behind their backs and shot in the head or the back of the neck, and just left out in the street. Mass graves are now being found, and I guess two things here. Have been paying attention to the recent actions of the Russian army. This is exactly what they've been doing in Chechnya. This is what they got caught doing in Georgia. Same kind of things, right? Not only pulverizing the civilian infrastructure, but like literally killing civilians, children, women. It doesn't seem to matter. Yesterday, as the story was, these pictures were coming out. Yesterday happened to be the anniversary of what's called the Katyn massacre. You might not be familiar with that. To any person of Polish descent, however, the Katyn massacre it strikes a really, really big chord and big bell. It was basically the severing of the head of Polish government, culture, education, journalism, science, in one fell swoop by Russian, what basically the organization for Stalin, which became the KGB, the NKVD, the People's Commissarial for Internal Affairs. Again, the same organization that went on to become the KGB. Some 22,000 Polish military officers in what they call intelligentsia. Intelligentsia is what I was just saying. Like they were journalists, they were educators, they were artists, they were people in the public eye and public venue that could move and shape politics and culture. The kind of people that in a situation could set up a resistance. And in case of the military officers would know how to conduct operations, and maneuvers would be useful in any kind of military scenario. And basically what the Russians did is they collected these people from Poland, literally at some point, sometimes trading certain ones with the Germans, and kind of literally round them all up over the course of several months, and then summarily executed some 22,000 of them, left them in mass graves in 3 major parts of Ukraine. And that's important to note too, because we have to pay attention to who's paying attention to what's going on out there. And it's not just the fine people here at the Topic Thunder offices and in the Thunderdome here. But there are other people who are completely well aware of the history of the Katyn massacre. One of the areas where the mass graves were found was a place called Smolensk, right? Well, not too long ago. In fact, April 10th. And speaking of an anniversary close to the Polish people, on April 10th of 2010, Tupolev Tu-154 aircraft operating in Polish Air Force Flight 101 crashed near the city of Smolensk, the Russian city of Smolensk, killing all 96 people on board. Among the victims were the president of Poland, Lech Kaczynski, his wife Maria, the former president of Poland in exile, Richard Kozorowski, the chief of the Polish General Staff, and other senior Polish military officers, the president of the National Bank of Poland, and other Polish government officials, 18 members of the Polish parliament, senior members of the Polish clergy, and relatives of the victims of the Katyn massacre. The group was arriving from Warsaw to attend an event commemorating the 70th anniversary of the massacre, which took place not far from Smolensk. Now, going back to the Katyn massacre, go ahead.
Hold on. Am I understanding correctly? Was this plane crash just a coincidence, or was the plane like shot down or something?
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. We'll tie that together in just another second. But you're on the right path here. Once you start seeing what's going on here, Ben, you're not too wrong about what this is here. So with the Katyn massacre, the Russians literally executed all of these Poles, mainly it's like 70 to 30, mainly with German handguns. Right, they had this whole operation set up where they would bring these people into a sandbagged room in a prison that had two doors. You come in one door alive, you'd leave one door dead. They'd throw you on a truck, and the truck went up to the mass graves. Typical Russian MO. When eventually accused of these atrocities, the Russians pointed the fingers at the Germans, because the Germans were actually the ones that found it. Believe it or not, check this out. The Germans, the fucking Nazis, found these mass graves and told the Allies about it. Said, hey, something really bad just happened here, and it wasn't us.
we're not responsible this time.
Innocent on this one, guys. We've got Treblinka, we've got Auschwitz, Birkenau, and Dachau. That's us.
That was us. This though, not us.
Not us. I don't know what's going on over here in this forest. So this started out this huge chain reaction. All these like investigations, some on like the Allied side, some phony ones on the Russian side. The Russians blaming everybody. It wasn't until 1990 that the Russians accepted responsibility for this. And it was Boris Yeltsin. We just talked about him last week. Boris Yeltsin was the one that said it was the forerunner of the KGB that did this terrible massacre, and then started to release like the classified documents, right? They unclassified those. But to this day, there are still boxes and reams in film that has nothing unclassified and released. And we're talking decades of negotiation where the Poles are like, give us everything. We need to find out what happened to some of these people because their relatives still don't know what happened to them. So let's go back to this airliner that was basically Polish Air Force One. Right.
Okay.
The president of Poland was on it. Right.
Right. I mean, it sounds like that was a plane full of extremely important people.
Yeah. So the pilots were attempting to land at the airport, a former military base, in a thick fog with visibility reduced to about 500 meters. The aircraft descended far below the normal approach path until it struck trees, rolled, inverted, and crashed into the ground, coming to a rest in a wooded area short distance from their runway. Both the Russian and Polish officials investigated, found no technical faults with the aircraft, and concluded that the crew failed to conduct the approach in a safe manner given the weather conditions. The Polish authorities found serious deficiencies in the organization and training of the Air Force unit involved, which was subsequently disbanded. Several high-ranking officials of the Polish military resigned under pressure from politicians and media. Now, there's some talk about, well, where is this to land? Let's talk about the investigations, right? Let's talk about the approach of the investigations, what happened here. So the then president of Russia, the Russian Federation, was a man named Dmitry Medvedev. You may know him now because I believe he's now the prime minister of Russia.
Okay.
All right. So this guy named Dmitry Medvedev is the president of Russia, and he orders an investigation be done into the crash. So he tasks the then prime minister of Russia, whose name is
Vladimir
Putin.
Of course it is.
To conduct an investigation in which he doesn't release the crash evidence to the Polish authorities who want in on the investigation, and calmly states, nothing to see here. So in the same week that the Katyn massacre becomes public, some now 90 years ago, 1945, but yeah, 70 years ago. In 2010, this plane goes down, and if you want to dive into the conspiracy theories, yes, it is widely believed, heavily believed, that it was a surface-to-air handheld rocket that downed this plane. And that's the reason why the Russians don't want anybody really looking at the wreckage, to basically take out the intelligentsia of the Polish nation. Once again, as a student of history, and we all know Vladimir Putin is, letting everybody know just who he really is and what he really means to the world. But unless you're a student of history, unless this is something that you're aware of, it's just a series of random events that don't have any connection whatsoever.
Mhm. Right. You could very easily overlook the connection. But yeah, other than what's so audacious about it, that audacious to the point where you almost feel like it's so audacious that it can't possibly be true, is that this happened on the anniversary of the massacre. Like if you were going to do it and you wanted it to just be like, well, it was just an accident, you wouldn't think that you would do it on the anniversary to just further fuel, unless, of course, you're Vladimir Putin and you feel like you're untouchable and you can do whatever you want and you can send whatever messages you want. That's the only opposite coin of that. Like, the only way you could do that is if you feel so confident that it doesn't matter. Yes, I'm doing it on the fucking anniversary. And what the fuck are you going to do about it? Nothing.
I'm talking about a dude that had already poisoned a Russian national on UK and British soil.
Right. You don't even give a shit if you're in Russia. Like, let's just be clear. Yeah.
And while I believe Viktor Litvinenko was the only one that died, a lot of people got sick because of that. That's how heavy the dose was of polonium-217, whatever it was. So a guy that in Putin that has shown no regard for sovereign lines or what you would consider have been like the old way of doing things. There are no rules with him, and I think that's probably the fault of our grand leaders, and that they assumed for some reason that this guy was operating within the rules and the normal of the game.
He could be reasoned with, that diplomacy is something that could work with him. And I think that that the world wanted to believe that this guy could be reasoned with. And he has now made it fairly clear that he's not interested in being reasoned with. That said, though, we didn't get anywhere. We didn't talk too much about Ukraine and that whole thing this week, but there hasn't been a whole lot more news, to be quite honest. And it seems to be that Ukraine has kind of stifled Russia here, where there's not much progress being made, and Russia is almost back down. And I was talking to one of my buddies at work, and he's kind of been looking into this thing too, and he was saying that basically very similar to Hitler during World War II, people around Putin were trying to tell him, like, hey, we're not really prepared to do this. We don't have the equipment. We're not ready for this. And he was just like, no, we're doing this anyway. We're moving ahead with the plan, regardless of the people around. And that's a very similar downfall. If you know the history of Adolf Hitler, people around Adolf Hitler were telling him well ahead of time of the mistakes he was making, but he was so fueled on meth and out of his mind that he wasn't listening to those people. And I don't think that Vladimir Putin is on meth and that's his problem. I think it's much more sinister than that. Like, he doesn't need meth to be completely out of his mind and not listen to the people around him. Like, that's scarier.
He is reported to have I actually cut a story out because I was like, it's too much Putin. But like has a team of doctors, and they include like ear, nose, and throat specialist, a thyroid specialist, an oncologist, neurosurgeon. He apparently suffers from excruciating back pain, right? and is on again, allegedly, we don't want to smear his good name anywhere.
Yeah, because he might be listening.
Right. It apparently takes a lot of prednisone to reduce inflammation, which people say
he does have a little bit of a drug problem.
well,
Huh?
that's why people
Thank
say
you.
his face is why it's all puffy. Some like if you look at old pictures, like young Vlad, very thin in the face. You see like the cheekbone, like the cheek structure is there, but like it's much more sunken in. It's not the puffy cheek, like kind of that happens when I guess you get old. But he apparently very concerned about his health. Which I would say like sure Hitler wasn't listening to his guys. What I've heard and read about the assessments of what's going on inside the Kremlin is that Putin's people are too afraid to tell him what's really going on because they know what's going to happen. So everything's like rosy and cheerily. Objectives are being met and such like that, and not the shit show that is like basically the Russian army tripping over its own dick.
Yeah. Courtney in the comments is right on here, and that no repercussions in 2010. The guy now sleeps with one eye open and won't be within 30 feet of anyone. He is quite paranoid too. There is some level of paranoia, rightful. So Adrian and I were watching a show where they were talking about paranoia. Well, this guy was paranoid, but what he was paranoid about was accurate. So I asked the question: is it paranoia if it's true?
Because people will say that's like your sixth sense, that's a survival thing, that's your spidey sense.
If what you're paranoid about is accurate, there are really people after you, and that they could want to get close to you and kill you at any moment. Is it true? I mean, it seems more like mania, right? You work yourself up so bad about it that you get yourself manic about it.
Which I can absolutely see, especially in his position.
That's why he has that long table that we goofed on a couple weeks ago. That's the reason, is that it's a safety issue. It gives his security enough time should one of those assholes try to fucking run at him.
Anything, right?
Oh, bullshit, yeah.
He literally has people testing his food. Think about it, like, no, he does. He has people like tasting his food to like make sure, like, all right, I'm gonna wait 15 minutes. I don't care if it gets cold, but I'm gonna make sure you're still alive in 20 minutes before I eat that. That's a level boy, if you can't figure out, you've done fucked up.
It's called it's intuition if it's true,
right? And in paranoia if it's wrong, right?
Yeah.
So what is
Brian Hansen asks, who's in line behind Putin for succession? Like, if this guy is got some health issues, maybe we start looking ahead to like, what is it possibly worse? The next guy, could the next guy be worse than Vladimir Putin? We don't know. We don't know who that guy is because we didn't know who the fuck Vladimir Putin was before he became Vladimir Putin, right?
So there's one thing you have to understand about the Chekist mentality is that it's the closest thing to Hydra that.
Oh no! Did we lose him? No, bro.
Oh no, I'm back. Hi.
Okay. So it's the closest thing to Hydra. That's where we left. Nope. Wait.
Oh no.
Wait. You're back. Are you back? You're back. Nope. He's gone. All right. I'm interested. He's got my attention, and then he just goes away. Where's he? But it is a good question. Like, who's in line next? Like, there's got to be somebody. Like, there's some weird fucking evil guy. Vladimir Putin's got Russian hackers. Man, you're right. They hacked us. They're listening. Sons of bitches. Why didn't they go after me? Goddamn Russia. You guys are right. I don't know where. Gigi, go check on them. Make sure we're all right. I know you're just in the other room. I've got proof of life. All right, we're good. Being thrown out a window as we speak. Yes, please make sure he doesn't stab himself and jump out the window. I can hear the obscenities. All right, there we go. And you're back.
I'm okay. I'm in my bunker. There was loud noise.
You didn't stab yourself and jump out the window, which is good.
I have not jumped from the window. And again,
Okay, where we left off is that Russia is the closest thing to Hydra. That's exactly where you left off.
okay, yeah. In that the idea of the Czechist state that the state will control everything from culture, art, politics, science, religion, commerce, business. They don't go away, right? Just because Putin is the literal head of it, the very visible head of it. There is no doubt if it's true KGB esque Czechist mentality.
Also, hasn't he? But Putin has kind of made some moves to make himself kind of above all that, and kind of almost like a god, almost in some sense. You know what I mean? Like he's made some moves like to position himself where he's so powerful that could there be anybody like would he allow someone to be close enough to be in line for succession in line of succession? I don't know.
He's gonna die.
He's right. That's inevitable. We know this. There has to be a plan. Right?
The more that the more he fucks around, the probably quicker he's gonna find out.
Yeah.
There will be some point where there will be some sort of coup, or military or otherwise, right? Somebody's gonna get him. But the idea would be then that like, this guy got a little out of hand. Hold on, let me. We're gonna fix this up here. Don't look at what don't worry about this. But oh god, that Putin guy, he was nuts. Oh fucking, we got Donbass. Don't shut the fuck up. Nobody's caring about Donbass anymore. Shut the fuck up. That Putin guy was nuts.
Right.
I think that would be probably more likely the case, like that he's extended himself so far to like ludicrous levels that like it would be obvious that the rest of the world wouldn't stand for it. So the pullback, whatever that pullback would be to, would have been probably the original idea of the Russian game.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So overextend yourself knowing that you're only to get half, but that half is what you wanted in the first place.
Right. I get you. Yeah, makes sense.
If I had to guess, and I'm no Czechist, I just happen to maybe perhaps understand a little bit of their crazy ass mentality. But we've been really serious here for a while, haven't we? Topic Thunder. Thank you, Kevin Conroy.
Topic Thunder.
Topic Thunder.
Happy birthday, Mike Brooks.
Oh, almost. It's coming up. Almost one of the greatest birthday gifts of my life. We'll just replay it too.
Happy birthday, Mike Brooks.
Oh, soon, Kevin, soon. But up first, Kevin, my good friend, you may know because you deal with creatures of the night, and there's only one thing you can really see at night very well, and it's called lightning. That means one thing, ladies and gentlemen. There's no dilly-dally in this house. It's time for the lightning round. That's my new thing. I'm not about to be 46 years old. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thunderdome. You know the rules. 3 stories enter, 1 gets read, and you, the ladies and gentlemen of the world's most dangerous chat zone, get to pick which ones win. It's kind of neat like that. So, like I said, there ain't no dilly-dally here. Let's kind of get right to it, shall we?
Yes, let's.
Story number 1. Parking cones and lubrication discovered inside Columbia County residence after alleged break-in. Headline number 2. Woman throws breakfast burritos at South Hill fast food worker. And headline number 3. Fish served on a plate opens its mouth and grabs chopsticks at a Japanese restaurant.
Shut up!
There's a video. That's all I'm saying. So, ladies and gentlemen, those are the 3 stories for today's lightning round. Let's go as you're figuring out which one you really want to hear, or perhaps figuring out which ones you really don't want to hear. I'll read them one more time. Headline number 1. Parking cones and lubrication discovered inside Columbia County residence after an alleged break-in. You need it.
If we did fucking show names, parking cones and lubrication would definitely be the show
Let's
name.
go hand in hand. Like bosom buddies.
Yeah.
Headline number 2: Woman throws breakfast burritos at South Hill fast food worker. Just like the idea of flying burritos. And headline number 3: Fish served on a plate opens its mouth and grabs chopsticks at a Japanese restaurant.
Yeah, 3 is running away with this already. Billy Whack in with number 3.
Billy Whack
Gigi
is,
number
of course,
3.
is going with the fish special.
Number 3. This is going to be a clean sweep. Courtney's going number 3. This is going to be the second week in a row that we have a clean sweep. I have no interest in shitty customers. Yeah, the burrito throwing thing is probably funny, but like no.
Only if we could get like the person's mugshot, and that would
Right.
take too much
Or
research.
video, if there was video.
Oh boy,
Go
Biz is in.
figure.
Oh, you're taking some of Ryan Hansen's heat there.
Yes,
bud.
yeah. We're still waiting for Ryan Hansen to chime in. You threw some curveballs at him. He's got to do a little bit of work this week coming up with the alternate.
A little bit, but we are kind of running away here. I don't know if we're going to be able to surmount the 5-0 lead.
Oh, here we go. Lube helps everything. Burrito projectile and fish tools.
Fish tools, indeed. I'm just gonna go with it, ladies and gentlemen. Your winner for this version of the lightning round. Yeah,
this new board. I have sound effects.
I love it.
Booing. Applause.
All right.
This is awkward. Oh, so like if there's an awkward moment. Ooh, I like that. I also have a gunshot. I have a slapping sound effect.
Ooh.
I have a laughter sound effect. And I have a cheering sound effect.
All right, kids, there's a G.I. Joe cartoon.
I'll start mixing those in.
Yeah, excellent. Well, here we are, folks. I you know what, Ben? I gotta send you this headline because there's a video.
Awkward.
This is the awkward part, so you could play the awkward show difficulties, but there's
It should be crickets, though. You're right. Okay, hold on here. Holy. Oh God. Oh God. There's a picture. You said there's a video too.
on.
Oh God. Yes, there is. Oh my God.
A fish served on a platter opened its mouth. Yes, you read that right. The incident happened at a restaurant in Waganawa, Japan.
Oh no.
Absolutely shocked.
Sorry.
No, go for it. Go. If we got it, go.
No. You're good. Here. Hold on. Woo! No! No! That is terrifying. No, that's not supposed to do that, right? I mean,
Now,
it's supposed to be dead.
now.
No, that is a huge no.
That looks like just a fish head. And you can say, like, well, you know, they're you know, when they're dead, the last movements are involuntary.
Yes. Gigi's right. It didn't just open its mouth.
It
attacked.
It felt the poke and said, "Fuck you, poke," and had enough strength with a third of its body.
We gotta terrifying. Oh my God!
Now, think about
Oh my God!
This is not the first thing. This is not the first time this thing did this, right? Because the first time it was an accident, and they're like, "What the fuck? Holy shit, babe, get your camera. We're gonna try it again." Because this was the second take, so that thing's been alive.
Yes, it happened. Well, you're right. It had to have happened. There's no way she was filming that and it happened. Yes. Oh my God, that's terrifying.
Yes.
Vegan now. Chris, I almost want to go vegan too because that is terrifying.
And I'm hungry for some sushi.
What the fuck is going on?
That is actually pretty messed up, and I'm glad I was able to bring it to everybody.
Worth being, dude, that was worth it being the clean sweep. The video sets it off. It wouldn't be as good without the video. The video sets it off.
That was 2 weeks with a clean sweep in the lightning round. So, all right. Yeah, I think they did eat part of it. That's the thing. If I'm looking at that picture and like,
They can't eat it now, but I bet they did.
oh man, come on. That's when you hand it back. Like, could you cook this? I don't know, but that was a topic.
With that apology gift certificate.
You should have juxtaposed some of the ideas of the topics and in the headlines, and maybe you throw that fish at the sushi chef. Like, what the fuck? You can at least make sure it's dead.
Yeah,
At the very least, you could do it. That was another Topic Thunder coming at you folks live and in living color here with improved sound and quadraphonic stereo, as our good friend Jimmy Shorts used to say. Yes, a Kevin Matthews reference. Suck it, you non-radio files. Anyway, that's Topic Thunder from the USS Rapapa. Hey, Ben, thanks. Everybody, good night.